She thought she was alone, until her stepson caught her cheating. A sudden misstep jolted her concentration. The character she had guided so carefully faltered and fell, pixels erupting in a splash of red, staining the virtual ground. A low groan escaped her lips, breath hitching as frustration surged through her. Her eyes narrowed, jaw tightening, and then a quiet, sharp expletive broke the tension. "Damn it!" The word lingered in the room, heavy and immediate, mingling with the flickering light and shadows. Lena leaned back, momentarily defeated, the television's glow painting her features in stark contrast. Outside, the moon continued its silent vigil, indifferent, casting its ghostly light across the room, highlighting both the mundane and the intense in the quiet drama of a solitary evening. She leaned back, stretching, her silk robe parting just enough to reveal a smooth expanse of thigh. A smile, secret and knowing, played on her lips. Robert, her stepson, was out with friends, a rare Friday night liberation. This was her time, her sanctuary of guilt-free indulgence. A floorboard creaked upstairs. Lena froze, her head snapping towards the sound, heart hammering against her ribs. No, it couldn't be. She'd checked his room, seen the note. Out with friends. Back late. Silence. Only the faint hum of the refrigerator broke the stillness. She leaned back, stretching, a soft sigh escaping her lips as the quiet of the apartment wrapped around her. Friday nights were hers alone, rare pockets of freedom after a long week. The house, bathed in the pale glow of the streetlights filtering through the curtains, felt like a sanctuary, still and unyielding. A sudden creak from upstairs froze her in place. Her head snapped toward the sound, pulse spiking, heart hammering against her ribs. No, it couldn't be. She'd checked earlier. His room was empty, the note pinned to the door. Out with friends. Back late. Yet the sound had been unmistakable. The refrigerator hummed softly, a mechanical whisper against the otherwise suffocating silence. She held her breath, ears straining, every sense alert. The shadows seemed to shift, stretching across the carpet like reaching fingers. The corners of the room thickening with unseen presence. Another creak, closer this time, echoed from the stairs. Fear prickled her skin, sharp and insistent. Every instinct screamed that she should move, hide, or run. Yet she remained, rooted by a mix of disbelief and dread, waiting for the inevitable revelation that would shatter the fragile solitude she had claimed for herself. She exhaled, a slow, controlled release. The old house was full of noises, creaks, groans, and whispers of settling wood. But her imagination had made them sound louder than they were. Picking up the controller again, she returned to the game, losing herself in the digital world. The character, a live warrior, moved with precision through a labyrinthine dungeon, silver blades flashing, shadows dancing across stone walls. Lena's eyes tracked every motion, fingers tapping buttons with rapid intensity, body leaning with each twist and turn. The rhythm of the game pulsed through the room, each challenge pulling her deeper into its maze. Then, a voice, low and resonant, cut through the quiet. Having fun? She jumped, nearly dropping the controller, heart spiking, the screen's glow reflected in wide eyes as adrenaline flooded her system. The ordinary evening had shifted in an instant. Every sound, every shadow now carried a new meaning, and the room that had felt safe moments ago seemed suddenly alive with hidden presence. Lena whirled around, the controller clattering to the floor. Robert stood in the doorway, a shadow framed by the dim hallway light. His expression was unreadable, eyes dark in the half-light. A backpack hung over one shoulder, the faint scent of pine lingering around him. "Robert, you're home early," she said, her voice tight, brittle, as if stretched too thin. He stepped further into the room, gaze scanning the room with casual curiosity, unaware of the chaos he had caused. "Friends canceled. Figured I'd come back. Didn't expect to find you absorbed in the game," he said, a corner of his mouth twitching in amusement. Lena bent quickly to pick up the fallen controller, fingers fumbling. "Just unwinding," she muttered, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The room felt smaller suddenly, each shadow deeper, the quiet punctuated by the hum of the TV. She straightened, heart still hammering, aware of every sound, the soft thud of his shoes, the faint rustle of the backpack, the tension that had settled like dust in the air. "You know, after a long week," she muttered, avoiding his gaze, eyes fixed on the discarded controller. "Unwinding, huh?" His voice was calm, but carried a note of curiosity. He moved closer, footsteps soft on the carpet, filling the room with a presence that felt heavier than expected. The air seemed to thicken around them, charged with unspoken tension. "Looks like you're pretty good at it," he added, nodding toward the screen. The warrior character stood frozen, sword raised, caught mid-motion in the flickering light. "Just a fantasy game," she replied, voice tight, throat suddenly dry. He leaned slightly, peering at the screen, interest clear but neutral. "I haven't seen you play like this before. It's impressive." She picked up the controller, fingers fumbling slightly, heart still racing. The ordinary evening had shifted. What should have been a quiet, private moment now felt fragile and exposed. The room seemed smaller, the shadows longer, and every sound, the hum of the TV, the faint creak of the floorboards, more pronounced. He stopped a few feet away, eyes fixed on hers. "You were really into it. I've never seen you play like that before." A beat of silence stretched between them. Lena shifted, cheeks warm with embarrassment, but not for the reasons you might think. I get a bit carried away when I play," she admitted, trying to laugh it off. "I noticed," he said, voice neutral but curious, scanning the controller in her hands. "You really concentrate. It's impressive." Her fingers tightened around the device, heart still racing. The silence lingered, each sound amplified. The hum of the TV, the faint creak of the floorboards upstairs, the soft shuffle of his feet. "It looks like you've mastered this level," he added, gesturing to the screen where the warrior character stood poised, ready for action. "I might need a few tips." Lena let out a nervous laugh, lowering her shoulders. The tension didn't fully leave the room, but it shifted, less charged, more playful. The quiet, once broken by a sudden presence, now held a tentative camaraderie, a shared focus on the game rather than on anything else. She tried to sound casual, but her voice trembled. He took another step, closing the distance between them. "You really got into that level," he said, nodding toward the screen. "I didn't expect you to be this focused." Her fingers tightened around the controller. "It's challenging," she muttered, trying to keep her voice steady. His gaze held hers, curious and intent. "I thought I was alone," he added. "Looks like I've stumbled into a serious gaming session." A beat of silence stretched between them. The TV flickered, casting shadows across the room. The ordinary evening had shifted, her private moment now exposed, and every sound amplified. The hum of the electronics, the creak of the floorboards, even her own racing heartbeat. She swallowed, trying to regain composure, aware that the tension in the room was no longer just about the game. The next morning, sunlight spilled across the living room, soft and unthreatening. The controller lay on the carpet, abandoned but no longer urgent. Lena sipped her coffee, letting the warmth seep into her hands, and for the first time in hours, she allowed herself to breathe fully. The events of the previous night felt almost unreal. Robert's sudden return had been startling, his curiosity innocuous, yet the tension had lingered long after he disappeared upstairs to grab breakfast. She smiled faintly, shaking her head at how quickly a quiet evening could unravel. She glanced at the television, now silent and dark, and then back at the floor where her game had been paused. The warrior character still waited in the dungeon, frozen mid-motion, a reminder of the escape she had so thoroughly enjoyed. It had been a night of adrenaline, surprise, and unintended exposure, but also of small victories and reclaimed solitude. As she set the coffee down, Lena resolved to reclaim her evenings more carefully, to safeguard her private moments, and to accept that even in a quiet house, life had a way of intruding when least expected. And somehow, that was part of the thrill.